Live.
It's time for Ohio State basketball.
The Buckeyes are preparing for battle,
And you're preparing to listen to them. Equally important.
This is the Fan Warmup Show.
Presented by the Ohio State Army ROTC. Decide to lead today.
Happy College Basketball Sunday, everybody. I am Brandon Beam. Jacob Reimer is behind the glass here this afternoon. We got a big one over at the Shot. Ohio State returns to action back at home after a couple of pretty tough losses. 1 week ago today, they went on the road up to East Lansing to take on Michigan State. Lost that game 60-60. Hard-fought loss, I thought, from an Ohio State perspective. And if there was any bit of reason to be feeling okay after a loss, you were going on the road to an Iowa team to Carver Hawkeye Arena, feeling all right about the situation, right? Bruce had put on the Superman cape. He was doing incredible things, really leading into that game. And then it kind of all came crumbling apart. Ohio State jumped out to a 14-2 lead in that game. I can't speak for everybody out there. Reimer, I know that you and me were getting super excited about that. We're like, boy, this is a really good start to the game. And then, like I said, that kind of came to a screeching halt. What was the exact run that Iowa went on there to end the half, Reimer?
It was 35-9.
35-9 run, and the crazy part was you were only down by 13 points at halftime, and I was like, man, if you could just get it to single digits here at some point, like single digits in the under 10, like you're not out of this game, right? But Iowa just defended every punch and every glance by Ohio State they had an answer for, and it ended up being 74-57. It was a tough one, right? I mean, you go on the road, two tough places, obviously, but now when it comes to bracketology, the matrices, everything, Ohio State, I think no matter where you look now, consistently out of the NCAA tournament. That could all change today. You got Purdue coming into town, and it's a classic Purdue team, 22-6 on the season, but they have struggled in their last couple of games. Last weekend, played against Michigan. Listen, Michigan does this to a lot of teams. 91-80 loss against them. At home, just a absolute demolishing of their in-state rival Indiana, 93-64. And then again, lost another game at home at Mackey, 76-74 to that same Michigan State team that you lost on the road to by 6 points. So they've been kind of up and down these last few games. Ohio State, we know that they've been up and down as well, but you have it all to play for here this afternoon. Primetime slot, Matt Painter team, Purdue. They are what you think they are. It's a classic team. If you haven't watched Purdue, they're big, they're fast, they move the ball around, and they love to shoot, Reimer.
Yeah, and they've got one of the best point guards in the country, if not the best, with Braden Smith trying to track down the all-time assist leader. And you just saw that a few games ago with Jeremy Fears. Those two are the top two in the nation in assists per game. So, like, that's what Braden Smith does. He's an orchestrator. He's like having a second coach on the floor at all times. And with the bigs that they have better shooting than Michigan State has spread out around them. So that'll be interesting to see how Ohio State responds defending the perimeter. But I feel like you got to try to utilize what you're good at with Bruce Thornton and John Mobley Jr. and try to get some mismatches with Trey Coffin-Wren, Osterkloff, Daniel Jacobson. Get those big 7-footers out on the perimeter guarding you, because back when they played Illinois in Mackey Arena and Keaton Wagler went for 46 on them, the most points in Mackey Arena for an opponent, that's what was all it was doing. He was cooking mismatches and pick and roll options, and that's what Ohio State likes to do. I'd like to see more of that today.
Are you thinking a Bruce or John Mobley Jr. pick and roll, pick and pop situation?
You see, I think John Mobley Jr. bounces back today.
Okay.
I know he got off that hot start, and missing 3 games, he might be a little fatigued, but now he's got that back under himself. And
I wouldn't qualify it as a bad game from him.
Right, yeah. It didn't look like his normal self, like what we've seen in before the injury had happened.
But I think especially, too, like he got off to that quick start, 2 for 2 from 3-point. You're like, oh, boy, watch out. If he can get hot, then that's going to open up Bruce, which may open up Devin in this game.
Exactly.
And then they just kind of they went away from him. Now, give credit to Iowa where it's due. Like, they did a nice job defending him when it got down to crunch time. But I thought John Mobley started the game well. And you and I were looking at each other like, oh, boy, this could be a big night. So if they get hot today, again, Purdue's kind of a streaky team. Like, as crazy as it is to say, a top 10 team of the country that only has 6 losses, they had a 3-game losing streak earlier in the season when they got into January, February against UCLA, Illinois, Indiana, and they've lost 2 out of their last 3 games. So it's not like an impossible task. And I feel like Ohio State, they know their backs are up against the wall. You're still looking for a Q1 win. This would be the marquee win that I feel like could jumpstart Ohio State into Penn State on Wednesday, and then at home against Senior Day coming up next Saturday against Indiana, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're trying to build that signature win. You have Wisconsin right now. Hopefully that can find a way up into that quad one category. But no, this would go a long way for you up the bracket boards and trying to get into that first four in or last four in line instead of being the first four out.
Yeah, and you know what? You mentioned Wisconsin. They didn't really do you any help because they were on that West Coast swing that Ohio State was on. It was Oregon and Washington here this weekend and into the week last week.
Yeah,
on
weird week for them.
On the road against Oregon, they lost 85-71.
Yeah.
They did turn it around yesterday. They did beat Washington.
The opposite of what Ohio State did.
And then they finish at home against Maryland, and then go on the road at Purdue next weekend. So if you're banking on quad one wins, the easiest way to do it, and it's not going to be easy, win your game today against Purdue. It's a 1:30 tip over at the Shot. Let's head out there right now, check in with our great friend Ron Stokes.
It's time to go inside the Buckeyes with OSU basketball analyst and former captain Ron Stokes.
Ron, thanks for the time as always. Happy Sunday to you, my friend. A lot going on here this week with Ohio State. Let's start back last Sunday on the road. Nice task against Michigan State. Thought they held in there, did a very good job of eating Michigan State's punches. And then in the midweek against Iowa, man, I thought, they started on fire. John Mobley Jr. was hot. Amari Bynum was hot at the very beginning of that game. And then it kind of stopped after the first 6 minutes, Ron. What's the bounce back to you today coming into your biggest home game to date against Purdue?
Yeah, coming home. I mean, you think about it, those two road games you were referring to at Michigan State and at Iowa, back-to-back lowest offensive production in the entire year with the 61 points against Michigan State. I'm sorry, 60 against Michigan State and then 57 against Iowa. They're coming off those two games before those, coming off their best performance from start to finish of the entire year against Wisconsin. I thought from a defensive standpoint, the job they did against that backcourt of Wisconsin and then having Chapman doing what he did in that particular game, not having John Mobley Jr. So you're back home. You're going against, a very competitive opponent in Purdue, but I do think there's some matchups that Ohio State could potentially exploit. You talked about the opportunity in the backcourt, maybe John Mobley Jr. and Bruce Thornton having a solid game, but I'm clearly thinking that coming back home, having their best game against Wisconsin in this building could really help them.
Ron, did you think Bruce Thornton, and I was listening to Jake Diebler pretty closely in that loss against Iowa to hear what he had to say, and he was like, I just don't know if Bruce was as aggressive. And I said to myself, I'm like, man, he's been putting the team on his back. He's been wearing the Superman cape for the last 3 games. From my perspective, I'm also looking at it like I thought he did a really good job trying to get Devin Royal back involved in this game and John Mobley early. And obviously, you can't go out and you can't score 30 points every night, but I think that's the matchup that you're looking at today from the backcourt.
Well, last 4 games, he's averaging right at about 38 minutes per game, and that's a lot of basketball to be played. This is, the 29th game of the year, and those minutes can take its toll on anybody. And then you, of course, you've heard Coach Diebler talk about this. Not only is he running the team, but defending the best guard on the opposition, so there's a lot of wear and tear. But still, he's Bruce Thornton. He's been steady. We know what we're going to get from him. But I thought the defensive strategy of what Iowa did, a lot of hard hedging against Bruce Thornton, trying to take the ball out of his hands. And there's a reason why some guys are open, because the opposition are saying, hey, we would prefer someone else beats us versus Bruce Thornton. But those first 5 minutes, 14-2 against Iowa, then to start the second half, 7-3. I mean, you take those 8 minutes, but you still got to play the other 32, right? So Ohio State's got to be more consistent in responding against the other opposition's runs. I thought they did a poor job in the game against Iowa. You just got to fight a little bit through those runs. You got to expect them, but you got to fight through them.
I was telling our producer, Jacob, Ron, during the last game against Iowa, I said, all you need to do is win this media timeout. You gotta win this 4-minute chunk of games, and I've listened to you for so long that I know that was a key to getting back into the game, and unfortunately they didn't. Ron, always appreciate the time. Thanks for hopping on with us. Have a great call this afternoon with Big Daddy Paul Keels and Skip Mossick, and we will check in again Wednesday from State College, all right?
All right, go Bucks.
There he goes, Ron Stokes with us every single pregame show right here on The Fan. All right, big afternoon. Buckeyes, Boilermakers, backs up against the wall. 2 games left to go after this one. And by the way, Reimer, it is officially now the month of March.
Happy March, man.
Happy holidays to you.
Yes.
I know you celebrated. Everybody have an awesome afternoon. Paul, Ron, and Skip from The Shot up next. We will be back for post-game. Everyone have an awesome afternoon. Enjoy some hoops. Buckeyes, Boilers up next right here on The Fan.
You've been listening to the Fan Warmup Show.
Presented by the Ohio State Army, ROTC. Decide to lead today.
Stay tuned for Buckeye basketball on your flagship home for Ohio.